Hello, my garden friends. Like that little man who used to say, it's time to make the donuts. Well, this is mid-May, and I'd like to have some compost by the end of summer. So it's time to make the compost. And I've been preparing by taking my shredded papers and cardboard and brown paper bags. They're letting us bring our own bags back to the grocery store, so this is the end of my brown paper bag harvest. And so I'm back to just using I don't use a lot of white paper because it gets kind of clumpy, but if it's shredded, not a bad idea. And each time I make this compost of just grass clippings and shredded papers, I get a little better at it, and I have little different ideas that I like. So my first batch was, I think last year, maybe about 13 months ago, and I layered it. I had, this is a bookshelf that somebody was throwing out, and we just took out the center of it and laid it on its side and nailed it together a little bit better. But you can see that after 15, 16 months, it's starting to deteriorate. And that's okay. I have no problem with that. But it's only about 16 inches deep, and you're really not going to get a hot compost out of this. So it's nothing that I would be putting a lot of heavy food items to break down. First of all, I don't want to draw any raccoons or possums or anything like that into the mix. I'm right on the preserve. You can see. Here, let me walk you over and I'll show you. This wall is about 8 feet high, and it drops down. You can see that drops down about 8 feet. And we have several little creatures who come running along here at night, and it's easy enough for them to just come up this little fence that we put up. They just come up and over. But we had the dog at the time, 13 years ago, so we wanted to make sure that she didn't get her head stuck in anything, so that was why we have this little fence, and it just stayed after she went to doggy heaven. Anyway, back here, it's never going to be a hot compost. You really need about 3 feet high. This time what I'd like to do, and I'm trying to do it, is to dig this down a little further than my edge is right here. And so I'm going to try and dig it down maybe another 6 inches, and it'll give me a little bit more space. I've got a lot of worms this time, a lot of worms. I just dug up a little pail like this because it's easier for my old back to carry this stuff around. It's probably still about 15 pounds. And every time I took out a handful, there was a worm or two in it. So that's just wonderful. But anyway, moving right along, the components for this, if you're going to try and make it, is grass clippings. You can do them fresh. My neighbor cut a couple days ago, and it's just really the top that's dried out. He usually brings it to me in a bag, and when it's in a bag like that, if I don't get to it right away, a couple days later, it really does start to smell and it's pretty bad. And so I've got the grass clippings. I had 2 neighbors who cut their grass and gave it to me. I have 6 bags, almost, paper, brown paper. I have more brown paper. Some of this is cardboard. It's a thin cardboard, like your cereal boxes and ice cream boxes and anything that there's, it's still clean inside. And so I put that through the shredder carefully. And but this time I'm going to add shrimp shells. I have been baked at about 350. I think I had them in there for about 15 minutes, and it's just the tails, just the shrimp shell. And also this is ground eggshell, And so you're going to get calcium in there. Any seashells will add chitin, CHITIN, and that's really good for it. It's trying to think of what it's adding. It's adding the calcium back into it. I tried giving these to the worms, and it got all clumpy in there. So I thought, well, we'll try giving it to the compost pile. And of course, banana peels, and I'm donating my coffee grounds and tea bags and some green tops from my carrots and what have you. But all of this is kind of hard on my back. I don't know if any of you are older or have any back problems, but I do try to do this in a real easy way. So I do use my pitchfork, and I think the pitchfork makes it easier than using a big shovel, because you're not lifting as much weight. And also, I have a small shovel, which I always thought it was a kid's shovel, but my husband said no, it was actually a long handle like this. It was one that he had bought. He used to be an irrigation technician, and he said these things are great for, small shovel. Might look wimpy, but it's really great for getting in around things. So don't be put off by some of the smaller things, as long as they're sturdy. But this was my idea this time, was to take my grass clippings, and in this bin, just to mix things up. And now I have it all, kind of like pre-mixed. I'm not going to layer it as I have done in the past, where I've done, a little of this, a little of this, a little of this, a little of this. It's already pre-mixed, and I can just add some stuff to it and then dump it all in there whenever I have the hole large enough and ready. And then what I'll do to that, I don't cover mine. I've heard a lot of people say that they go ahead and they cover it with a tarp, and then they check on it occasionally to see if it has enough water, and they kind of go through all the different, if it's too hot, then they cool it down. If it's not hot enough, then they turn it over. And I do come out with the pitchfork, and I will just turn it over. I'll just take the pitchfork and, stick it in there and flip it and kind of do a little fluffing up. And in three months' time, 4 tops, it's broken down, and you see how pretty it is. And if you can say compost is pretty, but I've got plenty of worms. My irrigation comes on, and it rains. April and May are really dry months, so this has been very, very dry for us. But it does get irrigation. So if you have any inkling that you'd like to start a compost pile, but you're so intimidated by all the rules and regulations, I think this is probably one of the most simple things you can do. And when I have extra grass clippings and I'm going to start something, now I do put compost down first, but if you come around here, this was my tomato patch that I've got going, and I'm trying to get out of the sun so I can see what I'm showing you. I don't know if this is better. Maybe. What I did, that isn't any better, is it? Okay, let me step out here. How's that? There's 7 tomato plants in here, and they have basil in between them, so they're not really as tight as they seem, but they do have other plants, and they have the marigolds behind them, and hopefully this is all going to protect the tomatoes from any bugs and hornworm, moth, and everything else that would possibly come to destroy it. By the way, we picked our first tomato this morning. It was ripe from there was a foursome there, and now there's a threesome, and now there's a twosome. But what I do is I go ahead and put mulch down first, or the compost first, and then after that if I only have grass clippings and I want to make kind of a mulch cover, I will take another layer of cardboard and lay cardboard down on top of that and then put the grass clippings. If I just threw grass clippings on top of everything the same way as if I just threw mulch down, mulch or grass clippings that still need to break down are going to draw nitrogen out of the soil. So if you have something growing there, it's going to kind of pull from it. You see here I've got grass clippings that have dried and browned. Well, underneath that there's cardboard, and that acts as that layer in between. Underneath that is the mulch that is enriching the soil, getting the soil to grow, drawing the worms up. And so today what I'm doing is just taking a little bit of the end of the compost that I have and just kind of doing a little top dressing on around some of my favorite plants and giving everybody kind of that, Mother Nature kiss. And so I've got, some of my favorites here are getting the, as I call it, the spa day treatment. So anyway, I just wanted to show you that. If you're so inclined, you'd like to try compost and you have any questions, please ask me. I'd be glad to take the time to answer you. And I hope you'll try subscribing, ring the bell, and the next time I am on here, maybe we can get together and have another little chit chat. Talk to you all soon. Garden what you've got and have a great day. Bye bye.